a really important point for the team, something we stress all the time. Everything you do in the game is either tied to tearing down Marcano's operation or building up your own, so building up your own bosses. So there's lots of things to do within that and lots of choices you have, but it's all based on this kind of urgent, mission that Lincoln has to not only tear down the Italian mob, but build something new in this place.
Yeah, I think we all know many of the world games where like, hey, the end of the world's coming, but hold on, I'm gonna get your cat. Let's take a quick look at some of those bad guys that are in Mafia 3, the people whose operation you are tearing.
Yeah, I just want to talk about this really because a lot of this imagery is coming online now. For you guys are actually, I think, the first ones to ever see this stuff, right, Randy? Yeah, which is kind of cool. So we have some really talented concept artists, but one of the things that we're doing throughout the game, these are actually all images. They're taken from some of our menus in our UI, and your dossiers as you, again, Lincoln thinks like a soldier, and he's building a kind of tactical plan against the mob. So he's got dossiers on all his allies and his enemies. And all the art, going back to what Bill was talking about earlier, is really inspired by kind of the pulp novels of the 1960s. So it's got that really cool kind of illustrated style. But this is Sal Marcano. You want to talk about Sal?
Yeah. So this, like Ian said, this is Sal Marcano. He's essentially the Don of New Bordeaux. He's run the city for a few decades. He took over the city basically by selling out his father. And then, which resulted in his father's death, which then he lied about to his brothers and used that to rally them to take over the city. So he's a very nice man.
And that guy behind him is his son Georgie, and again, not giving up too much information away, but you find out Sal. I've seen the quote from Bill, but every great villain thinks he's the hero in his own story, right? So Sal, while you probably won't agree with all of his decisions, certainly won't agree with kind of some of the decisions he makes and the language he uses and some of his stances. Hopefully, as you play through the game, you understand why he's doing what he's doing, at least from his point of view. He's wrong, but he's got a very specific point of view and a very specific desire that he's trying to fulfill. And again, another thing that I'm excited about is family. That our kind of tagline, which I think is on these posters that are underneath our sheets, is family's not who you're born with; it's who you die for. And so that permeates everything. So again, Sal's backstory, there's a lot of family. He's running the city with his family. He's got his brother Lou runs part of the city. His brother Tommy runs another part. His sister-in-law runs part of the city. So family's a big deal for us. That's Tony.
So this is Tony Durazio. He's the lieutenant who runs downtown. He kicks up to Lou Marcano, who Hayden said is one of Sal's brothers. I don't know how to describe him. Bloodthirsty, analytical weirdo.
Kind of a savant. Like he's the numbers guy. Again, we one thing we tried to do, and I think both Bill and I have done this in our past. We working on comics and things, is that we try and take familiar archetypes and turn them on the mirror a little bit. But we looked at how do we make sure we get all the mob archetypes right. So you need that numbers guy, the guy that runs all the books, and Tony's that guy, but he's far more maybe bloodthirsty and. I mean, he's a true sociopath in the game, right?
Yeah. So this is Thomas Burke. This is one of the 3 underbosses that Lincoln recruits to assist him on his revenge campaign against Marcano. Burke lives in a part of town called Point Verdun, and his nickname is Irish Point. And before the start of the game, he actually ran that district and kicked up to Sal. But like I said, before the start of the game, he's basically a drunken loose cannon, and he screws up, and Sal sends an enforcer in and busts up Burke's left leg and takes the district from him, and then assigns it to another guy. So that's part of Burke's motivation, and in terms of why he's willing to join Lincoln in tearing down Sal.
And let's go 1 second, because these lieutenants for Lincoln, this is, I think, some of the coolest part of this game, that you are, as you're going through and taking over New Bordeaux, you then have another step where you need to then have one of your people manage that district and the crime that goes on there.
Yeah, so this might be the area I'm most excited about right now, because we haven't talked very much about it. But it goes back to that kind of every player story is unique on kind of macro level. And we sat down, we had long conversations early on saying, yeah, I'm a huge fan of RPGs and you know, the sweeping, the kind of epic RPGs where you're making millions of little choices along the way and it all kind of culminate into one big thing. But that's been done, and that's been done really, really well by other people, and I would never presume that we could, you know, kind of maybe do it better, and I wouldn't want to because it's, you know, it's their thing. So instead, what we focused on was how do we give you, you know, a couple dozen really meaningful choices throughout the course of the game that you know every time you're making them, you're kind of sweating it a little bit because you know that it is going to have long-term ramifications. And the thing I keep telling the team is that, you know, we want to present the player with hard choices, and a hard choice to me is a choice between multiple positives, but knowing that there's ramifications somewhere down the line, right? With how that ties into these guys is there are 3 underbosses. Every time you take a racket in the city, you have to have somebody run it and kind of hold it for you. So you assign the racket out to them. They start earning, they're kicking up to you, everything's good. When you take over the district, you have to make a decision who runs the district. And so you can go in and you can say, hey, I'm going to give everything a veto. Great. You can go into a district and say, I'm going to give one hideout to Burke because he's offering me something kind of cool for that. I'm going to give another hideout to Cassandra because she's offering me something I want to. And then when I go to sit down with these guys, which we have several points in the game where you have an actual sit down with your underbosses, and they express how happy or unhappy they are with the situation, how you've been managing those relationships and what you've been giving them, and then you have an opportunity to, again, make a decision who you give the entire district to. So in that example where I've given, you know, one hideout or one racket to Burke and one racket to Cassandra, I can go to the sit down and, you know, kind of screw them both over and give it all to Vito because Vito's got something that I want, right? But again, that has a short-term gain or short-term reward, but definitely long-term ramifications. We're not talking too much about it yet, but you know, you can probably take it to its logical conclusion that these guys are hardened criminals, and if you don't keep them happy, you know, they're definitely be a reckoning, right?
It was like last week was the first time we've ever had anybody from outside of the development team or TK actually go hands-on with this and play it through to its natural conclusion all the way through all of the sit-downs, but the first sit-down they'd seen. And it was fascinating to just watch people agonize over what they were going to do. Because, and I'm hoping if we get this just right, I think this will be a really powerful thing for the game, because on the one hand, you've got your head telling you, well, I want that particular service, or I want that particular weapon, or whatever that you're going to give me. I need it, so I want to give it to you. But then you've got the heart kind of telling you, but I'm invested in this character emotionally now. You know, like I really care about Vito because I'm a huge Mafia 2 fan. I really care about Cassandra because of her backstory and just the way that she interacts with you when I visit that. So it's going to be, there was some real agonizing going on.
We literally had one guy apologize to Vito. It was so awesome. He sat there, he was like committed to giving everything to Vito, and then he